Okay, this is a tutorial for the new module, the video surveillance. And this model allows you to use 4 cameras, IP cameras, at the same time, and it has motion detection. You can record the image and you can take snapshots. So I will show it with one IP camera, but you can they're all identical. So if you click on one of the images, you will see the options, and you can do the same for all of the 4 cameras. So first let's connect to the IP camera, which is next to me. So we type in the IP address and it works on port 80 with just a username. This is a Foscam camera, which is next to me. I can wave. Okay. Now let's go through the different actions which you can execute once you are connected to the IP camera. The first one is recording. So you can just push the button, and so now we start recording. And actually what will happen is that in an AVI file images will be stored. Okay, we can stop now. And when we go to our file manager in the DHS2 directory where you installed the application, you will find a folder surveillance with the 4 cameras, and there we have the AVI, which you can then watch. Not much to see. Okay, that's the recording. The second option is to make the image full screen, and you go back to the other screen just by clicking once in the image. Okay, the next button is actually to define the zones. But before I explain the zones, let me explain the next button, which is motion detection. And so once I click it, from now on I am detecting motion, and you can see when I wave my hand, you can see it shows red when you have motion. You can define a threshold, which I will show later on. That's motion detection. Now let's say you would not like to have the complete image to be scanned for motion. That's where the zones come in. So you can define a zone, and you can say add a zone, which is just a little rectangle which is put on the image. You can change the rectangle. Let's say we would have a zone right there below where motion should be detected, and we can put more on the image. Let's take a second one and let's put it right there. So usually this is when you have an image with a lot of movement, and you would only detect the motion in a certain part of the image. Now if we activate motion detection at this point, which is now activated, and I wave my hand, you will see that the red is only shown inside those zones. The motion is not detected outside, so if I would move my hand here, there wouldn't be motion. If I would move it here, you would have motion. Those are the zones, and you can add as much as you like, and you can then delete them as well. Okay, before I can show you the next function, I'll go to the options dialog to show you what can be configured. So the first one is for the motion detection. You can specify the tolerance, which is by default 2000. You will have to play a bit with that value. 2000 is still quite sensitive. And then you can decide what to do when motion is detected. You can record, for example, for a number of seconds, and I'll activate it for the camera 1 so I can show you. Recording is done in this directory, but you can change it. Here you can specify the URLs for the different URIs for the different cameras. This is for a Foscam camera, but I've tested it also with an Axis camera. You will have to look for your camera in the documentation, where you can find the motion JPEG stream. It depends for each camera. Finally, you can say where snapshots have to be stored. You can save it to the local disk, or you can send it by email. I will show you later on how it works for email. For now we will take a snapshot to the local disk. So we have specified that when there is motion, recording should be done for 10 seconds. So let's activate motion detection. And now if I move my hand through the zones, we have motion and it's recording. At the same time, now if we wait for a number of seconds, it should stop recording. So it's finished now. We can deactivate motion, and we specified in the options that the snapshot should be saved to local disk. So we take a snapshot, and then we go to the local disk, and there is a snapshot which we just made. So the final action I want to show you is how to send a snapshot by email. And to do that, we need to specify a Google account which I use to send emails. And this is done in the options. You should check the video called Getting Started, where I explain exactly how this works. I have 2 email addresses, and you can add as many as you want. So I have those email addresses, and then what I can do is go to the options of the surveillance module, go to snapshots, say this is by email, and then we select one of those accounts, and we send, now for this demo, the snapshot to exactly the same email address, and then we take a snapshot. And that's it. So in the background the email has been sent, and then if we check, we see that the email arrived in the mailbox, and here it is.